How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am back for another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, it's a Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the character we're going to be covering today is actually a request video. I'll give you some hints of who this is going to be. He's a reporter. He is superpowers. He actually has superpowers. It isn't a non-superpower hero. So, reporter, superpowers, can fly incredibly fast. I believe bulletproof and can generate heat, and was made very popular on the pages of DC. He is...
This video is on the Ray.
Yes, he's the Ray. Thank you for stepping on my lines again.
Why did you make him sound like Superman?
I'm trying to subvert the viewer's expectations.
What do you think this is, Star Wars?
Yes, that's a can of worms we don't need to be opening. As the voice said, we are doing the Ray. This is a request video. I'm going to put the name of the requester somewhere around here. I don't want to butcher the name. But I did want to show that this is a request video that we are fulfilling on the Ray. The Ray... he is an interesting character. He did garner some popularity for a while on the pages of quality comic books, where he actually took over as the featured story for a while after just a few appearances of being in the back pages. But as superheroes started to come closer to an end, things that weren't superpowered superheroes started to replace him, where he eventually got usurped as the feature cover by Midnight, which we could always cover that some other time. Interesting character. Anyways, this is going to be the Ray on this issue of
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
It's okay if I say it, Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. Let's go ahead and cover...
Was this created by...
Yeah, we're going to get to who it's created by. Don't worry, we're going to cover this. Let's get started. The Ray, Herbert Happy Terrell, first appeared in Smash Comics number 14 in 1940. The original publisher was Quality and was created by Will Eisner and Lou Fine. It's not that unusual for it to be Will Eisner. He created a lot of characters for Quality. And Lou Fine, you guys have heard me say these names before if you've watched my videos for a while. The beginning of the Ray's stories, there's a bit of inconsistencies in some of these stories. Now, the Ray was popular. In his first two appearances, he was in the back issue of Smash Comics, and then he actually he appeared on a number of covers, and he was actually the featured story for a while until the interest in superheroes started to peak out, and he would be replaced as the feature story by Midnight. And in his last couple appearances, he would be relegated to the back of the issues again, as he first started. In his first appearance, we were told that he was a reporter. In the second and third issue, as we are introducing the Ray, they say that he is something else. And I'll put I should have some pictures up here. One says that he is a young daredevil, and the other says he is a radio announcer. He was never either of those things. He was a reporter. Also, the Ray had a non-powered juvenile sidekick, which was very common for the Golden Age, for them to be sidekicks. Now, the weird thing about this is the first appearance of the sidekick, his name was different than what it ultimately ended up being. And the first appearance of the sidekick, he knew who the Ray was, being Happy Terrell, but when his name changed, his memory of Happy being the Ray also changed. It's some weird things. We'll get into this. Let's go ahead and cover the first issue, and then we'll go a little more about Ray. The Ray, or Ray, however you want to do that. We start off with the Ray. The Ray, and it says it was created by Electron. I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke or a pen name, but we know it was Will Eisner. And then we see a newspaper which takes us into what the story's going to be about. Professor Stein makes ascent today. Professor Stein plans to take a new type of balloon into the stratosphere at high noon today. Now, the chief is trying to find out where his star reporter Happy is, and he's making quite a fuss. Then Happy walks in and he's like, calm yourself, I already know about the strato blimp, strato balloon. I've already signed myself up to be a part of it. And then the reporter seems to be, or the chief seems to be abated by that. And one of the last panels of the first page, we see the professor who created it, and he says, and lastly, I want you men to realize that we may never return to Earth alive. That is why I chose you convicts. It's do or die. So he's letting criminals approach this. Now, they go into, I guess, the atmosphere, and I can't say I've ever been in space, but I don't think it looks like this. Even if it was a cosmic storm, I don't think it looks like this. This is just strange. So, I guess the strato balloon is going through some difficulties, so Happy goes outside to, I don't know, correct the balloon, and he gets blasted by a cosmic force where he turns into the person known as the Ray, as you can see here. It says, suddenly, an amazing thing happens. The figure of Terrell seems to shrink as another rises out of him. A shaft of life. The shaft of light shoots from the spot where he stood. As Terrell, a new form, rises into space. So it's basically a cosmic storm which causes him to not only get his powers, but to transform with a costume. I don't understand how any of that works. So we cut away to these criminals who have been seeing the return of the strato blimp, a balloon, and I guess they want the fuel that fuels this balloon. They mentioned that the professor is being guarded by some army guards, so they subdue him and approach the doctor. When they won't help him, they shoot him and leave him for dead. As they leave, the Ray suddenly appears and he tends to the doctor, who says, your face looks familiar, but who are you? And he mentions that Terrell is dead and he is the Ray, and that he is going to take on these criminals. As the criminals arrive at the airport, they see the form of the Ray in front of them, and he doesn't appear to be completely solid as he appears. He introduces himself, quote unquote, to the criminals by knocking them out, and shows that he has magnetic powers as one tries to run away, and he pulls him back by some unknown force. I guess that's magnetic powers. And then he dispatches the two bad guys by throwing them around with the force of light, and then he needs to get to the plane where the last bad guy is escaping in, and he shoots a beam of light that he is able to travel on. He knocks the bad guy out while they're still in the air, and then it says, Several hours later, the New York police find 3 beaten men lying in a shaft of light in one of their cells. So he's able to drop them off in the cell, get the formula, bring it back to the professor, and he says, "From now on, I am the Ray. With my power, I can do many great things." And it ends. It doesn't even say it ends. It just ends. Now, as I said, there were some inconsistencies in the first couple of issues. They said that he was once it is a daredevil and a radio announcer, but then in the subsequent issues, they referred to him as being the reporter that he is. He still occasionally would appear as Happy Terrell, and he would also be the Ray. Him being a reporter put him at the right place at the right time, which, if you've seen me cover some of the other Golden Age heroes, you know that them being a reporter is a common theme, so they don't have to explain the extraordinary circumstances of why they are wherever they need to be. Being a reporter, it puts you on the front line. There is a sidekick that would appear in a few other issues. Now, when he first appeared, he found out who the Ray was. I believe his name was Jackie. And he goes, "Hey, I know that you're Happy Terrell. Your secret is safe with me." Hardly anybody called him Herbert, even though it's his first name. They called him Happy. Now, in the next issue, we see that it looks like Happy has adopted this young guy as he's living at Happy's house, but he refers to him as Bud. Now, Bud and Jackie are the same people, but Bud doesn't seem to know who the Ray is at first, because in the first couple appearances, he is referring to Happy and Ray being different people, and Happy seems to try to keep that illusion alive by, in many cases, referring to Happy as being a separate person and not wanting to see Bud, seeing him transform. And it never show in a single issue with him saying, "Hey, I know who you are." It's just in the next issue, it's, "Hey, Happy, I know you're Happy. Let's get this done. I know that you're the Ray." It's a little jarring. Now, the Ray would appear in Smash Comics number 14 and go all the way to number 40, where, like I said, the age of superhero was starting to go down in 1943, and people like Midnight, who became the popular feature cover, would take over. Non-superpowered, comical, ridiculous detective cowboy stories that seemed to rule the late 40s and early 50s. Now, the Ray had many powers. He could apparently appear in a ray of light, fly by using light, and light exists in all forms, so all he had to do was just use light, and it could control him to fly. He seemed to have magnetic powers that he could attract or repel things, which wasn't really used in a lot of great detail. It's mostly his ability to fly, his super strength. In one issue, it looks like he has size-changing abilities. And in one issue, he said that he was going to generate heat. Now, he has seen to not being able to drown or breathe in air, so I don't think his lungs work in a normal capacity as most people. And as many times as he's tried to be stopped or subdued, he has only been, every time he's either been tried to be subdued, he was just playing possum. But there is one issue where it does look like they found a way to incapacitate him. It happened very briefly and was never mentioned or brought up again. But it does look like one time he was stopped. He seems to be able to transform himself into the Ray at will. And I don't know the specifics of the light source that he needs to change himself. It just seemed to be at will. In the daytime, it seemed a lot more easier than at night. And that is a rundown of the Rey, his powers, and his appearances. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something about this character. I will be coming up with more Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and if there's anybody you'd like to see, you can just go ahead and let me know in the comment sections. I'll be happy to do a request like I've done with the last two. Until next time, I'll be seeing you.